count. Here comes Mississippi's entry. 4 homegrown musical talents, including the king himself, Elvis Presley.
They built it out of flower petals, wire mesh, and lots of metal. Filled that sucker to the brim with gobs and gobs of wet mache. 15 feet, all neck and head. Slapped it across a wide flatbed and sent it off to Pasadena, riding proud on New Year's Day.
We decided to bring back the Elvis Presley portion of the float because we had been offered by Mark and Brian at KLOS to do that. It was just too good an opportunity to pass up to have them bring this to us for free. I really didn't know what they were contemplating.
They said, once we finished with the float and the parade, would you guys like to have that Elvis head? Could you do anything with it?
And we said, yeah, we think so.
Normally, that's all she wrote. You throw away a used-up float, but a couple of fellas from L.A. just couldn't let him be. They got their hooks in Elvis' head and raised him from the nearly dead, and brushed him off and tied him up and drove him down to Tennessee.
That 1,000-pound Elvis head is rolling down the road again. It's rolling, rolling, that big old Elvis head.
Well, yeah, they delivered it to Graceland.
But they weren't supposed to.
They weren't supposed to. They were supposed to be
They worked a deal with Mississippi to bring, we'll ship the head back. And Mississippi said, oh, that's great, we'll save some money. But that wasn't in Mark and Brian's plan at all.
All I knew is that they had some difficulties with Graceland before. I did know that, I admit.
Graceland hates our guts.
Well, Memphis City threw a fit. The Elvis head had better get. So folks on down in Mississippi took it off their hands. A little fun, a little hype, but once it smelled a little ripe, they put it out to pasture in a place called Cash for Can.
At that time, it erupted into a bidding war. It started becoming some kind of saga of the absurd because all of a sudden these people were bidding on this metal object that's basically deteriorated.
I was passing by the float builder who built it the year before. She told me it was in the junkyard in Jackson, Mississippi, and asked me if I wanted to have it. And I said, you bet we want to have it.
We were just going to bring it back, maybe prop it up in here and just let it sit, just so nobody else messed with it.
And had I taken possession of it, I mean, I would have put it in a warehouse and preserved it and trotted it out once a year at the St. Patty's Parade, and we'd probably see it for another 10, 15 years.
So I bid $500 and 100 pounds of extra crispy chicken straight from the Colonel.
As the Wall Street Journal picked up on it and ran an article about the bidding frenzy and all the people, I don't know, I guess it was sort of like, that Elvis heads are a hot item and a good investment or something like that.
And I understand that the people who finally got a hold of this giant head bid nothing near that.
One of our associates, Margaret Fair, just happened to be going back to Alabama for the Christmas holidays. It's perfect timing, so on her way back, she picked it up in Jackson, Mississippi, sometime after dark. It was done in a little bit of secrecy because the junkyard man was a little nervous about all the publicity.
Yeah, he was glad. He was glad to get rid of the whole thing. He had no idea why anybody would be interested in this heap of junk back here. That's what he said.
Why do you think everybody was interested in that heap of junk?
Well, because somebody's junk is somebody else's treasure.
Nobody seemed to really care that Elvis Head was worse for wear. It looked more like a guy you'd meet named Toad, or Phil, or One-Eyed Jess. The ears and cheeks had gone askew, and birds had pecked the nose in two, but saddle up and ride it high, they brought it back out west.
That 1,000-pound Elvis head is rolling down the road again. It's rolling, rolling, that big old Elvis head.
I understand that a bunch of hippies got a hold of it, and that they're doing some kind of frightening rituals with it.
Holyland brings to you!
We admire Kitsch, and we build it. And we worship it.
And we worship the king.
And we worship the king.
Yeah.
Ralph and Brett got evicted from their house because their house was up for sale, and they sold the house. So they had to move. They had to move everything, their whole sculpture garden and the Elvis head as well.
Yeah, the house has been sold. Sad but true.
Well, I mean, it's sad, but, it's an opportunity for us to step back and
take a look at the big picture. Well, we don't know where it's going, but it knows where it's going.
Yeah. The Elvis Head does have a mind of its own. That's how it ended up here, finally, because we let it decide for itself, and it did make it here to the Holy Land because it knew that this was the place for it to be, and right now, we just got to let him go. Yeah. I'm sure we're going to see him again because, you know, he does.
What is that they say? If you have an Elvis Head, set it free.
Yeah,
if it comes back,
there it be.
There it be.
Yeah.
The Elvis Head goes round the bend, but rest assured, this ain't the end. If he passes through your neighborhood, flag him down and let him in. You can fill him up with firewood. He probably picks up cable good, but just be sure you patch him up and take him for a spin.